Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Let's just review now. We're detailing the macabre pattern of bloody gestures by the invisible government now in the first 2 weeks of the new year. Obviously, there are real victims here, and our sympathy goes to the survivors, and we obviously deplore this pattern of violence and terrorism coming out of the invisible government. And that includes the December 31st mysterious death of John P. Wheeler III, found in a landfill near Wilmington, Delaware, someone who was part of the Air Force group that allowed, let us say, the rogue B-52 to take off. End of August, September 2007. On January 6th, we have these incendiary letters to Governor O'Malley and the Maryland State Director of Transportation. January 8th, the horrific shooting in Tucson, Arizona. A federal judge killed, congressional aide killed, other bystanders, young girl killed, Congresswoman Gifford severely wounded. January 10th, Tom the Hammer DeLay gets a relatively tough 3-year sentence plus possible 5 years more, 10 years of community service if he behaves himself. January 10th, Ashley Turton killed in a freakish fire in her own car as she's trying to leave her garage. And again, the Washington Post style section of January 11th, lobbyist death shakes the Hill again. Democratic establishment mourns second tragedy following early morning fire. Ashley Turton was dead following a fire in her BMW on Capitol Hill in her own garage, the victim of what appeared to be an inconceivably freakish accident. An inconceivably freakish accident. Now, the word from the police is that there were chemicals stored in the garage and that a low-speed crash by Turton's BMW somehow ignited flammable chemical material as she was attempting to leave. That there may have been a medical event, completely undefined and no evidence cited. In other words, did she have a heart attack? Did she have a stroke? This is a young woman, very strange. An unknown brain malady seems to be what they're aiming at, but they have no proof. They're simply inventing these things. So even the Washington Post, once again, very uncomfortable with that one. And, of course, a couple of other things to be said about this. Ashley Turton is the former chief of staff to Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut. Rosa DeLauro of Connecticut is the wife of Stan Greenberg, the pollster. Greenberg is a partner of Carville and Shrum, and it's known that this apartment that DeLauro and Greenberg maintain in Washington, D.C., has been used as a pied-à-terre, the apartment, for figures such as Rahm Emanuel and other top White House officials all the way up, for various kinds of undefined activities. So this strikes right into the heart of things. Her husband, once again, is Daniel A. Turton, the White House Deputy Director of Legislative Affairs for the House of Representatives. In other words, he's one of the top officials in the Obama White House, and his particular responsibility is Daniel Turton is, the interface between the Obama White House and the House of Representatives, especially Democrats, but also Republicans. So you can imagine a certain chilling effect of this going on. And the obvious implication here is, the question that we have to ask is there a car bomb involved? In other words, one of those bombs or devices placed in cars that explode when you start the car, when you start the ignition, right? And all sorts of reports about how it's better if you have a car that allows you to start the engine from the outside. It's better to be several yards at least away from the car before you start the engine. And don't wait to get into the car. Start it with one of these remote control devices, and then if something goes off, you won't be in the car. Again, tremendous chilling effect from this one on Capitol Hill. So that's the last of our series, I guess, of 5, right? The Wheeler case, the O'Malley letter, the Tucson shooting makes 3, DeLay makes 4, and the Turton incident makes 5. Now, you may say that there may be more. It means, among other things, that there's going to be an initiative made in the Obama State of the Union. He's either going to propose some radical measures a la Bush to loot and dismantle Social Security. He has already gouged $1.5 trillion out of Medicare. He'll be going further down that road. Normally, the Democrats would rebel against this, at least some of them would, but now they're going to be told, no, wait, you have to be centrist, you have to be civil, you can't demonize him, even if he's basically proposing genocide against the American people. You can't oppose that. You've got to join in this centrist consensus. And, of course, the petty bourgeoisie of the Jon Stewart type, right, the no-labels, centrists, be civil. It turns out, isn't it interesting, that they serve reactionary interests because they are doing what they're doing. Essentially, what's being proposed here with these events is to push the extreme wings in so that you can have a consensus in the center, so to speak, the Wall Street center, the financier center, between the Malthusians of the left who don't like Social Security, who think that Medicare should be looted because people live too long and that's bad for the polar bears and the penguins, and on the other hand, the right-wing Austrians of the Tea Party who want to gouge the social safety net to drive down wages, drive down working conditions, and so forth. So we essentially got the two wings of the British East India Company, right? Malthus, who taught at the Haileybury Cadre School of the British East India Company, and David Ricardo, who was on the board. He's the founder of monetarism and therefore of Austrianism. So all of these reports about the Turton death also have to be factored in. There's also the question of the deficit and the spending limit, right? The public debt, the borrowing ceiling, the debt ceiling of the United States public debt will have to be raised. Now, a lot of these Tea Party fanatics, true to their reactionary creed, have been mouthing off about how they don't want to do this. The Wall Street Journal is giving them advice on what to extort in exchange for doing it. There are a lot of them who just don't want to do it. They are being subtly told, listen, fellows, if Wall Street tells you to do something, you're going to do it. And it may take more prodding. This may not be the end of the prodding. Some of these people didn't get the message. You could see Mitch McConnell had no problem getting the message. Boehner got the message right away. Eric Cantor got the message right away. Time for centrism, time for civility. Forget the 20-day program for the moment. They will, of course, do their ritual House bill to repeal Obamacare, but it won't go anywhere. The big question is, if they try to block the debt ceiling, that, of course, would bring the entire world financial system to the brink of panic. And I think by now, even the powers in Wall Street can see that this would be a very suicidal gesture for them. So they're going to have to lean on these Tea Party characters and tell them that they're going to vote the way Wall Street tells them to vote. It reminds you, of course, of the vote on the House on the TARP, the bailout in October of 2008. You remember the first time around it was defeated in the House because there were some of these Republicans in particular who actually believed the ideology they'd been mouthing the whole time. They thought they were there, right, to fight big government and all this other stuff, and they didn't like bailing out Wall Street. But then in the second vote, between the first vote and the second vote, they got the message, and not from Main Street, but from Wall Street, that if they didn't do this, some of them would also be in very, very bad shape. So this is basically the pattern. So there's the first 2 weeks of the new year on World Crisis Radio. We'll be back in a minute.